Now to the gun violence in the city. As politicians vow to crack down on the issue, we wanted to hear more about the impact on our communities.
CBS 2's Andrea Klein-Thomas spoke to residents.
NYPD officers are now regulars at the intersection of East 198th Street and Valentine Avenue in the Bronx, where a baby was struck by a stray bullet last month. At the corner deli, a Crime Stoppers reward poster hung on the door. Across the street, remnants of crime scene tape, and it only begins to tell the story.
The guns are ridiculous, but really, in the Bronx, we really need more policing.
So there's a lot right there. The guns are ridiculous. It's almost as if I don't even know how to explain it. The level of, when you talk to these liberals and this sister who lives in New York, newsflash, she's not a card-carrying Republican. Newsflash. To continually blame the guns. I mean, just to keep doing that. I feel like 2030, they'd still be blaming the guns. And then secondly, we need more police. When liberals open their mouths, it's almost as if they completely lack self-awareness. So she blamed the guns, and then she said, we need more police. Yet if one of those police, not even in New York City, but in another jurisdiction, let's just say throw a dart at a map, makes a mistake during a police, and not even a mistake. The gun could be pointed at him. The guy could be wrestling with him over the gun. The guy could take his taser, shoot, anything. But he shoots and it becomes a big story. She'll be condemning the New York City police, who she just asked for more presence from. It's no solution.
The guns are ridiculous, but really, in the Bronx, we really need more policing.
In August, a gun was pointed to my face in the discount in the corner.
Last month alone, 100 shooting incidents across the city, 36 victims. The largest share were in the Bronx. This as shootings in January increased by more than 31% when compared to 2021.
So I chronicled last year how crazy it was in New York and how I was so shocked that they had surpassed their, it wasn't a record for them, but it was the worst it'd been in 20 years. I was so shocked that they surpassed that in 2020 because of how bad 2021 because of how bad 2020 was. I was like, wow. Well, 2022 is up 31%. And this is just January. For January. And let me take you to the New York Gun Memorial so you can see who's dying from all these gunshots. The fatal shootings in New York. Gunshot victims. And this is it's like I'm scrolling through a dating app, man. Look at all these sisters on here, man. Alpo. Well. So now that you know who's getting shot, and now you see that it's up to 31% higher than last year, which was a recent record for this millennium, and then you had it up in 2021, and then 2020 was up from the year before. That's a lot of Sun people gone, man. A lot of Sun people gone. And this is just one city. The city over. You can go all throughout New York. Newburgh, Poughkeepsie, Binghamton, Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, Albany. You can go all Troy. You can go all throughout New York. Newburgh. Anywhere in the state, it's the same thing. And then that's just one state. I really wonder what people from other groups think about this, man. Like, genuinely, man. Not filtered, PC stuff, but what do you really think about this? Yeah, we get a lot of commentary about everyone knows it's happening now. So we've crossed that threshold where people are aware that this is actually going on. And then you have the cliches that people can say, well, they asked for the police to be defunded. This is the result. No, but what do you really think about a place like this? Where it just gets worse and worse every year. And the bodies just drop and drop and drop. And you talk to the people from the group who's being affected, and they're talking about some guy who got shot during a police raid in Minneapolis. They're tweeting about that, and that's all their Facebook posts are about. And they live in cities like this. What do y'all think about that?
This as shootings in January increased by more than 31% when compared to 2021.
I understand what the police say, that it needs to be more policemen. No, it needs to be more undercover police.
It needs to be more undercover police. Now, I will give this brother a break because some people begged New York City not to disband their 600-man undercover anti-gun police unit, plainclothes police unit. So they had a bunch of guys that were cops and they wore plain clothes. So if you were a thug on the streets of New York and you were in public about to do something brazen, like what happens all the time now, you had to think twice because that guy, even if that's not the guy you're about to rob or the guy you're about to shoot at, any one of these guys out here could be a cop. And the thugs in New York hated that because they never knew when the cop was around because the cops were plainclothes cops. So when they would do their reckless stuff, they would get caught a lot, or they would get caught before they did it because they would be spotted. Pulling out a gun, producing a gun, threatening or, assaulting someone. So the thugs in New York hated it. But then George Floyd happened in Minneapolis. And they got rid of it. and the people begged him not to. So I can't knock this one right here, this complaint, because they begged the police department not to get rid of this specific unit. And they did, because a guy OD'd in Minneapolis in police custody.
I understand what the police say, that it needs to be more policemen. No, it needs to be more undercover police.
The controversial anti-crime units that use those undercover officers are getting a makeover. Now known as neighborhood safety teams are being deployed to more than 30 precincts across the city, including this one in Mott Haven.
You can have a police officer on every corner, but that doesn't address someone's opportunity to commit a crime and also why they're committing a crime.
Noel says prevention strategies have to come with more resources, like programming New Settlement has established for teens.
So this guy's a shyster. He's trying to get money from the government to line his pockets so he can put himself as the head or the CEO of some program for teens. Give a bunch of his friends fancy titles, give them no-show jobs, between $40,000, $50,000 a year, and shuffle around a bunch of papers as the city gets worse, as more teens get killed, as it becomes just unlivable in the city. That's what these programs are about. I'm done with these programs. I used to try to say these people had good intentions, but it just didn't work. Now I'm seeing these people as hucksters and shysters. It's a money grab. It's a hustle, a program. You got 1,000 programs in the Bronx, 1,000 programs in Brooklyn, 1,000 programs in Queens, 1,000 programs in Staten Island, 1,000 programs in Manhattan. It's more programs than it is liquor stores and corner stores. And it's getting worse. And this guy wants more money for programs.
You can have a police officer on every corner, but that doesn't address someone's opportunity to commit a crime and also why they're committing a crime.
Noel says prevention strategies have to come with more resources, like programming New Settlement has established for teens. But the $250,000 state grant shared with 2 other organizations can only go so far.
So he's complaining that a $250,000 state grant that he shares with 2 other programs, which would probably say he's using about $80,000 for his program. Okay. That's enough. Yeah, that's not enough to give him. He could probably get like $10,000, $20,000 salary for himself. But here's the thing. If these people really wanted to help, they would make that work. That's free money from the government. They would make it work. But there's nothing they can do because nothing works. So they're in a sticky position because nothing works. So the government is giving them this money, and then they're looking for results. And they come back and they're like, well, we serviced or we made contact with X amount of people in the community. Or this, that, and the third, or we spoke, we signed up this amount of people in the community. We engaged this many amount of people in the community. But these programs are preventative to prevent crime. The crime rate's going up. So at the end of the day, the government is like, well, these things aren't working. Then you go back and ask the government for more money, which they'll inevitably get because it's a democratic city. And democratic cities just throw money at this stuff. So then he'll get more money this next time, and be able to give himself a little higher salary, and then a year or two later come back, and then we need more. It's not enough, more. And then maybe at the end of 10 years, he'd be able to buy himself a Benz. But the city's in shambles. And it's not his fault, because even if he had done everything right, it wouldn't have worked. Because you can't fix this other than to lock up the criminals who are committing the crimes. Nothing else works.
You look at the food insecurity, the housing insecurity. We just had the eviction moratorium expire on January 15th. You have double digits, close to 1 in 10 people not working. All of those contributing factors really need to be addressed.
Factors Noel says carry the same weight as law enforcement in keeping communities safe. Andrea Klein-Thomas, CBS 2 News.
Murder was the only category that was down when compared to last year. The NYPD is focusing most of its efforts now in certain neighborhoods in Brooklyn and in the Bronx.